What's up everybody, professional bass angler Jacob Wheeler here, going to dive into how to select the right line for the right application. There's three different kinds of line out there on the market. You have fluorocarbon, braided line, and then monofilament. Okay, we are going to talk about what makes each one different, sort of some of the advantages to each of those. Okay, selecting number one, this is monofilament. Okay, now monofilament is a little bit more cost effective. It's also, one thing about monofilament that's really, really nice is it ultimately floats, which is great when you're trying to throw top waters, more with treble hooks, not necessarily a frog. I wouldn't necessarily throw a frog with monofilament because it normally tends to have a lot of stretch. This is 20-pound Suffix monofilament, and the other thing is that ultimately mono does a pretty good job of being abrasion resistant. It actually can be more abrasion resistant than its cousin fluorocarbon, where fluorocarbon looks very similar, but the only disadvantage to monofilament is you don't have the feel that you're gonna get with the fluorocarbon. Now the fluorocarbon costs a little bit more, but the monofilament tends to not, you really can't detect the bite as well as you will with that fluorocarbon. So monofilament works very well. It's definitely one, if you're just trying to get into bass fishing or get into fishing in general, monofilament might be for you. Going to number two, we're gonna go with braid. Now, when do I throw braid? Is normally heavy cover situations a lot of time. Typically throwing a frog, throwing a swim jig, fishing around heavy vegetation like grass or matted vegetation, stuff like that. We're out here on the water right now. You can tell boats are running everywhere. And this is the thing about it, okay? When you're using braid, it just allows for you to use a little bit lighter of an action of a rod. And what that does is like, because you're basically, braid does not stretch. Where monofilament and fluorocarbon both stretch, braid does not. It definitely detects bites very well. But the issue is, for me personally, when I'm around rocky situations like this one right here, I don't like to throw braid directly to my bait because you're gonna have an issue with your abrasion resistance. It's actually gonna break that line. This is actually a 50-pound braid. I do not like to throw braid, direct braid around these situations right here. Now I will tie a fluorocarbon leader on, but that's a different video for a different day. Braid is definitely one that it's gonna last a little bit longer than your monofilament. And it could even last all year, which is great. And if you only go a few times, a lot of these will last all year. Sometimes you might have to stretch out the monofilament or the fluorocarbon, but braid, you really won't have to do that. The only thing you will see with braid is you're gonna see most of these lines come with green or like that natural color, and over time, you're gonna see it fade. That's not necessarily meaning that it's not, a good line or it hasn't held its strength. It just, a lot of times the coloring on the braids fade, and that's sort of typical. As long as you're not breaking your line every time you get a bite, you're probably pretty good to go. Last but not least is fluorocarbon, and fluorocarbon is probably the one that I use the most. As a professional bass angler, the advantage of fluorocarbon is definitely sensitivity. Sensitivity is the key. Now, one thing that people talk about a lot is that fluorocarbon actually stretches way less than monofilament, which typically is true, but it's not actually, in the grand scheme of it all, it's really not that much. The big key is being able to feel what's going on, especially when you're fishing offshore or you're fishing deeper water, making longer casts. You can feel what's going on pretty well with that fluorocarbon, but it definitely does have stretch. The other advantage to fluorocarbon is it sinks. So it's actually, because of the way its makeup, it actually sinks in the water where monofilament does not. They're both basically very similar. They both have, clear, they come in the clear versions and they still look very similar, but they're completely different really. The disadvantage of fluorocarbon, it's fairly expensive. It definitely is. And the other thing is, like, one of the advantages of fluorocarbon is that you can get your baits deeper. Because of it sinking, you're gonna get those baits a little bit deeper, like a crankbait. I could probably get, say, a DT6, like a mid-depth diving crankbait. I can get a crankbait deeper on fluorocarbon because it sinks, maybe a foot or two more a lot of times, than I can with monofilament. So those are the three right there. They all have a purpose. So no matter what you pick, I'm sure you'll sort of figure out as you go. Hopefully this video helped you guys out in selecting the right line for you. So for more tips and techniques like this one right here, make sure to subscribe to the Academy Sports and Outdoors YouTube channel, as well as if you're trying to stock up on some bass fishing gear, check them out at academy.com or go to your local Academy Sports and Outdoors retailer. Thank you all for watching.